Hey guys, what's happening? This is Dave here, Director of Operations for Andre Mac, living and grooving in New York City. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about Sequence and how you could start to deploy it for purposes of mastering your budget and automating a lot of the tedious financial moves that you need to make in your life. And it really is great because you have a fantastic visualization tool of all of your money and all of your accounts. So it's a financial router and it's also a banking institution in its own right. And it's really a phenomenal tool. So I'm going to walk you guys through it. So you don't need to take any notes. You don't need to pause the video. You'll see in the show notes below, there'll be a link to Sequence and to Tiller. Whatever financial app you're using, I can tell you that we've used all of them. We've used Rocket, we've used QuickBooks, we've used Quicken, we used Mint. Mint was trash, Quicken was trash. QuickBooks is okay, but I like what one books is like a really wide lake that is incredibly shallow. So it's a shallow lake. It catches a lot for a lot of businesses and a lot of industries, but QuickBooks doesn't make sense for personal finance in my view. And if you're any good with spreadsheets, I recommend Tiller. That's not what this video is about. We'll have another video to go over that together. But for purposes of this video, we're going to talk about Sequence. So let's have a look here. So one more time, you're going to be able to visualize your money flow. You're going to set rules for your budget. And then once you do that, you're going to set rules based upon your budget. And then you're going to measure and control and be able to drive the process. So for us, I got to tell you, as a family, as a household, it has been phenomenal. Like, we have found thousands of dollars every month that we couldn't find before for whatever reason. And we've had a level of accountability in our home that we never had before. So here it is. They have an ability to kind of, white out all your actual numbers. So you can't see our numbers, but you can see the accounts. And if you have a look here, you'll see that we've linked all of our lending institutions, right? We've got our bank accounts with Navy Federal Credit Union. We have our auto loan with First Entertainment, or America First, I should say. We've got our credit cards in there. Then within Sequence, so you're able to link all of your banks. That's what this is. That's what these banks are. Do I have a pointer? Where's my pointer at? Okay, so here we go. So over here on your right, you'll see credit cards that we've linked. By the way, you can set up this map any way that you see fit. All you got to do is click them and move them around. Of course, I can't click and move them around because I'm in the app now, of course. But if I do this, I can click this guy and I can move this account anywhere. I can move this account anywhere, right? So it's very helpful. It's very helpful. However you want to visualize this, but all of our money from all of our institutions are in this account. You can see, like right above my head here, you can see that we've got where our investment monies are going. You could see that the money is coming in through our income sources. That's here and here. Natalie's checks, my checks, they all come in here. And they get sliced according to our budget. And so I'll show you in what they call Playground. And Playground, you can go in there and you can dabble. And when you dabble, it has no effect on any of your accounts because nothing's been linked. But you get a great opportunity there to mess around and just see, like, okay, if I started moving money like this, what would it look like and how much would I have left over? So each of these are actual. These correlate to categories that we have in our household's personal budget. Auto and transportation, in that category, we've put car payment, actual fuel, maintenance, car cleaning, auto insurance. They all go in that budget. And the budget for that, the amount of money that's getting sliced when our paychecks come in our port and shoot up to these categories individually, when the money comes in, we have a flow happening. And that flow is happening to each of these accounts, right? From her check and my check. And the percentages are a little bit different, but for the most part, each check is getting split up 100% into all of these categories. Auto, transportation, all of our credit cards, discretionary, that's dining and that's entertainment. Living expenses, those are really expenses that you can't live without, right? You got to have groceries, you got to have laundry done. And so that's what that bucket is for. They call them pods. I like to call them buckets. So let's not get them confused. They call them pods. These are our income sources, right? The income sources are here and here. And the pods, this is where it gets super cool, guys. This is where you want to know how we started getting our finances in order? You want to know how we started to really curtail our spending? And this is the two-dimensional representation of it, right? So as a percentage of our budget, I think discretionary is 18% of our monthly spending. So the money that goes to here is an 18% split off of that. But guess what? This is a bank account. That's a bank account. It's got its own routing and account number, and it has a debit card associated with it, and it's got its own PIN. And it took 12 seconds to set up. We'll do one right now. I'm going to call this new account, which we'll refer to as a depository account. Oh, actually, sorry, I can't do that. This needs to be, excuse me, I'm adding a pod. Okay, so here it is. We're going to add a pod. This is effectively an account as well. We're going to call it YouTube. And hopefully I'll start having hundreds of thousands of dollars going in there. That'll be amazing. YouTube. Boom. It's one word, isn't it? YouTube. Create it. I just created it. There it is, right? And hopefully this becomes a fantastic income category for us. We'll see. If it does, then I'm going to have to create a income source pod for it and then shoot it over. But this now has its own routing and account number. It's blurred out to make it anonymous, so that the pikers out there don't try and steal money from me. And then there's a debit card associated with this. All you got to do is hit activate. That would take 12 seconds. Guess what? I just opened a new bank account for my YouTube account, and I have a debit card associated with it as well. We've added each of these accounts to our wallet on our phones. So when we go to the gas station, I use the auto and transportation debit card in our account. Boop, at the pump, and it comes out of that account instantly. Each week, these accounts are getting funded based upon the budget that Natalie and I have both agreed upon, and then our dollars are getting split into each of these accounts. When we go to pay for groceries, living expenses is how we pay for groceries. If we have health insurance, health-related expenses, they come out of that pod. Rent, this is getting filled each week by each of our checks. So instead of us having to think like, oh man, do I have enough money to spend for this out of one checking account, out of our one lending institution, now we no longer have to think like that. We know each morning we get an email from Tiller, which is a finance app, which is not what this video is about, but we have an email, or we can log in and we could just look, and on the face of each of these pods is the balance for each of those accounts. And so we know on a weekly basis. We have a term that a saying that I had pounded into me when I used to work out in Napa Valley by the CFO of the restaurant group I was with. And he would say, Dave, we want to buy in the period for the period. And ideally, we want to buy in the week for the week. And we know that we have to have our inventories at a certain level. And this is the money that we want to spend, right? You have a budget, try to stick to the budget. And if you can't stick to the budget and you need to overspend for whatever reason, there either has to be an influx of more money coming in, and this holds true for us at home as well, right? For all of us, you either have to have more money coming in, or you're going to need to offset that additional expenditure from somewhere. So now, of course, in the living expenses category, we do buy furniture and that sort of thing from from time to time, or home improvement type stuff. Actually, I think those are split between discretionary and living expense categories. But if we need more money in that account for whatever reason, then we have to transfer money from one of our other accounts, and that takes about 22 seconds. And we could transfer from another account into that account. But as you're going through the process of having to transfer the money over from one account to the other account, both Natalie and myself have to sit there and say, is this expenditure really necessary? And do I need to be going through this process? So it's helped kind of pump the brakes on our spending. We're not just swiping the card all the time. And man, we have found thousands of dollars every single month. It has been awesome. So that's the way we've started to use this. But then you can also use this for taking advantage of different lending institutions' cash back on money that you have sitting in their accounts. So you can automate it and keep it in X number of days a month. After those numbers of days a month have transpired, then automatically you can move the money out. I put it into the credit card router. From the credit card router, one of the ways that I've opted to make this a more efficient system, I've called all my creditors and asked all of them to move the due date to the 25th. So now the 25th, I have a surplus of money all month going into the credit card router, and then from that, it's getting divvied up and each getting split into each of those cards. And the rules here are killer. The rules here, I'll set up another one to the Apple Card so you can see it. And what type of rule do you want to create? I want to create a rule that's triggered by every time money comes in or triggered by a date of the month. So if we trigger it by date, you could transfer a fixed amount. You could transfer a percentage of that account's balance. You can round down the credit card. You could do the minimum payment. You could pay the last statement balance. I mean, you can get really crafty. And Sequence has a Discord community where they're constantly keeping you abreast and updated on new improvements that they're making to the platform. But in addition to that, they have people who are sharing their life hacks around the use of Sequence. And it's going to blow your mind. And what's great about all this is that it did take us a couple weeks to wrap our head around it. And it did actually, because this is our budget. This is reflective of our budget and what's in our brain. And some of you might be like, this is a mess. For us, man, it really has worked. And so by doing this, it took us about 6 weeks because there was a level of discomfort. It's crazy how much you start to realize, wow, we were really overspending in this area or that area, and it just willy-nilly and trying to do the math in our head, and we were doing a poor job of it. And this is now reflective of the discipline we wanted to instill on ourselves. And so if you have a sense of what your budget is really, whatever the finance app is that you use, you can deploy your budget in a forward-looking manner as opposed to always looking at how did I do last week, what did I do last week, and well, it's like, okay, what did you do and where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? For our purposes, these bubbles, these pods reflect the money that's going into them, reflect on a percentage basis what went into my check, what it went into Natalie's check, and then how it got sliced up. You can get really cute with it. So on here, you'll see that we're on the playground. And with the playground, you could pretend to link all of your banks, all of your auto loan, your loans, auto, personal, student. You can look at your credit cards. You can look at your brokerage accounts, and you can get really cool with it. When you land there, they have a quick video that you can check out. We're not going to do that at the moment, but for our purposes, I'm going to link this in the show notes, and then I'll share it with you guys, right? So we'll just call this Dave's Test Map Round 1. If I can spell Round 1. Boom. Okay, so you can add an income source, right? Say this income source is consulting, and it has no tax taken out of it. And then say you've got your jobby job. Okay? Now you got your jobby job, you got your consulting. They're populating automatically with, fictitious dollar amounts because it's kind of fun. And now you want to add an account. What kind of account do you want to add? Checking, right? Let's call this checking. So ordinarily you would put the name in, then it has through Plaid, it has encrypted way to log into your bank, get your banking details, and now all of a sudden your bank is there. If you want to rename it once it's linked, you can absolutely do that, right? So we'll just call this Chase because a lot of you love Chase. Good for you guys, right? And then you've got, let's get another checking account in there, and we're going to call this one Credit Union, right? Okay. And probably about 3 to 4 times as long as it's taken me to set these up is about how long it takes to set these up, right? So it'll take you a few minutes. But then once they're in there, you're going to see the actual balances. Now, for the income sources, we can now say, okay, you want to know what? Chase Bank has a deal going where if I have a balance over $1,000, it's going to give me something. I don't know that it does. I'm just using that as an example, right? And I'm just moving this map around to make sense. As I'm moving it around, you can link your jobby job, and it's going to be triggered by incoming funds. What's the condition that you want? What percentage of the funds? For now, we're just going to call it, why don't we do this? We're going to call it 80% is going to go to Chase, and 20% is going to go to your credit union, right? So now that port, that income source, has one rule with two attributes that are going to go to it. You can add an account. You can add a whole bunch of accounts. That's what we did over on our version. So then what? You can add pods. The pods could be areas where you're going to hold money and then you're going to build it up and then you're going to distribute it a certain way. For our purposes, we use those. They correlate, like I said, to different categories on our personal budget. So this one, let's call this car loan or car. Let's create another one, vacation. Let's create another one, and we're going to call it taxes, because we have consulting work that we're doing, and we need to make sure that money's getting put aside for the taxes. I guess because I grew up in the English-speaking Western world, I like moving left to right, but you could set this up. You can have it as a water flow going down your page. You can go left to right. You can go from the middle and go out. Whatever works for you, right? Whatever works for you. So now, the consulting, not taxed. We're going to trigger it with, Chase has that monthly deal, right? So we're going to go here. It's going to be triggered by incoming funds. Every time money comes into the consulting thing, we're going to put 92% to Chase. Why? Just to be cute. We're going to have 3%. Well, actually, let's get this in line with the tax world. There you go. We're going to go 75% to Chase, and we're going to go 5% to the credit union. Oh, look at all the accounts that you set up. They're popping up there in the drop-down list. And then 20%, it'll automatically give you the remaining percentage you have, is going to go to taxes. Boop. Now, every time money comes into the consulting that's not taxed, it's going to do a split to Chase and to the credit union and then to taxes based upon what we set up. The credit union can then have a split whereby you click on this little plus vacation. It's going to be triggered by date, right? We're going to transfer a fixed amount, a percentage of that account's balance. We're going to round down the credit union. You know what? The credit union, we always want $100 in there. We're going to round down the credit union to a balance of $100. And we're going to limit the round downs. We're just making numbers up here, right? We're going to limit the round downs up to $5,000 per transfer. Save. What date type? Do we want to do that monthly? Do you want to do that weekly? Do you want to do it bi-weekly? Do you want to do it the 1st to the 15th of the month? Let's do the 1st to the 15th of the month. Boom. The rule's set up. Car. Chase is going to take care of the car because the car is due on the 25th monthly. And I'm going to do that one day earlier so we don't get rocked. I'm going to say $400. Boom. We just created rules. This is our money map. You can do whatever you like, but this is just an example of how when money's coming in, you got money coming in from your jobby job, you're doing some consulting, right? And you're splitting that up and you're automating your obligations. Now when the money comes in, it's no longer has to be in your head. The tax bucket, oh, you can run this too, right? Oh, no, this is just a play. You can't run it. As you go through, you'll see each of these. If for some reason you have an emergency and you need to move the money from vacation somewhere else, you can. You can just go up to the top and do a transfer. On the real version of this, you'll have an activity log. And within the activity log, you could transfer monies manually. You can go there and you can pick an account that you currently have money built up in that you need to move it to another one. So it's not like it's locked in there and you don't have any control. It's just like this is your budget being put to real life in a forward-looking manner. We found it to be incredibly helpful. Incredibly helpful. So this is a way to look at it if you're still on the fence. And we've found, like I said before, we've found that talking to our creditors and saying, hey, listen, we would really like it if our due dates were all on the 25th. Come the 25th, we have everybody getting sliced right at midnight, and all the money's going to those individual accounts. So let me just, once again, leave you with this mantra, this belief system that we have, right? We're purchasing in the month for the month. If there's something that you want to stockpile and start putting money towards, and you haven't had the discipline in the past, or you just want it out of your head, now you could create a pot. It could be furniture. It could be the new addition to your home, whatever. Now you are purchasing in the month for the month, in the week for the week. This is a automated, forward-looking representation of your budget and your goals that you've come up to agreeing either with yourself or with your significant other. And you can see that if you're overspending in a certain category, you're going to have to offset it and pull from somewhere else. And now you get to start to feel, oh, I'm dipping into my ability to pay off credit cards. Oh, I keep undermining our vacation budget. Now that's no longer the case. So this is really what we like, this pod system. I will tell you that this took us in our house, this took us about 6 weeks. There were several days where it was kind of funny. My wife was like, I don't like this. I'm not feeling this. I keep wanting to go buy something or get something and I can't. And there was a couple times where, I wanted to go do some stuff to take care of our vehicle. And in the process, I was like, I'm on E on the gas tank. And I could go spend all this money, but I need to fill the car, wash the car, and just leave it at that. And I need to not spend this additional money because in the auto and transportation bucket, I don't have it. But if I want it, we could definitely map it out. So this was all done with the purpose of how can we start to invest in other areas and really pull money while still having the standard of life and quality of life that we want, but start pulling money and ferret it aside so that we can actually get after the other goals that we had. And so by using Sequence, we were really able to do that. We were able to automate stuff that was taking up too much bandwidth. We were able to, and we would both say, I would look at her and we would talk on the phone and she'd be like, man, I am not feeling this. I'm like, babe, this was our budget. You and I agreed on this. This is what we wanted to do, right? We both see the merits in doing this. And so I have to scale it back, and so do you. It took us about 6 weeks because there was old habits that were still percolating up to the surface that we needed to eradicate. And now we've done that. And hopefully you will be able to too. So feel free to leave comments, etc., etc. And next time I do a video, I'm going to show you guys Tiller because we're good with spreadsheets. If you are good with spreadsheets as well, I think you'll get a kick out of it because they have a whole community that supports them. And that's been great because, like I said, we've used every single app. Every single app. When we lived overseas in Australia, there was this great app called Pocketsmith, but it wasn't as good as Tiller. Pocketsmith was cool because once you programmed in all of your expenses and all your paychecks, you could see 4 weeks from now how much residual cash you would have. And that was my favorite attribute of it, but it was constantly glitchy. We used, like I said, we used Quicken, we used QuickBooks, we used Rocket Money. We used all of them. But in this world, you really should be good at spreadsheets. If you're not, that's probably part of your financial problem. But if you are, even just a little bit, it's automated. The only thing you have to do is categorize your transactions. So once you've done that, and then you really start looking at how you're spending your money and where you're spending your money, we took what we learned in Tiller and we put it into Sequence. So this was really about Sequence. So in the final analysis, where are we at here? I wanted to show you that just this. This is their pricing plans. This is all about external transfers, right? So if you only do up to 10 transfers a month, it's $7 a month. We use the mid-tier. We use the professional level. By the way, we got a deposit in our account the other day for like $80. And so they're paying us to use the platform. This is great. right? This is spending we would have been doing anyway. So I hope you guys find that helpful, and I look forward to chopping it up with you. I'm sure some of you guys are going to shred me in the comments, but I'm also looking forward to how and where we can discover new ways of mapping and routing our money so that we can make more money, we can spend less, and we got money for what we really want and what we really need. Be well.